Hey, how's everybody doing? Finally had a day off of camp. I think that the hardest part is behind us. The hardest part is still in front of the players. But for us observers, we had 5 days on, no days off. Finally got that one day off. And from now on, it's going to be 3 days on, one day off until we finally get to the oasis that is the NFL preseason. So, I mean, there's a lot of reasons why I'm so excited about Monday and the rest of this week. And the main one, if you follow me on Twitter, is that pads finally come on. Guys will no longer have the option of being in shorts on the practice field. In fact, nobody's had pads on yet, but there are certain players. One of them is Trent Sherfield, new 49ers receiver, who's put on his uniform pants instead of the shorts, and he automatically looks a lot more distinguished than most of his other teammates out there just because he's got that full uniform on without the pads, but with the pants, and he looks good. So we're going to see uniform pants. We're going to see pads. That's all coming this week, and most importantly, we're going to see contact, which changes the entire dynamic of the game. The NFL mandates that teams have to start those first four sessions without pads in those shorts to get guys acclimated. But we've now hit the portion of camp where the real football is going to be played, when the real competitions are going to be able to start, and we'll see what we have. So on the screen right here to what it's above me on the second monitor, but if you're looking at me, it's obviously to my right, you have the 49ers roster. And this is obviously the one that I've made. This is nothing official, but this is how I predict that things are going to go down at the time. So I'm zooming in just so you see. But on the left side, which is the gold side, you have the 53-man roster projection for the 49ers. And on the right side, which is the red side, you have the whole 90-man roster as it currently stands for the 49ers. So this is a depth chart. This anonymous user, it's an anonymous dinosaur at the top. Yeah, that's somebody checking out the depth chart right now. I don't know who it is. And here, this, what I'm posting as a comment, is the link to the depth chart. So you can copy and paste that, put it into Google or whatever browser you use, and you can actually mess with the roster yourself if you make a copy of it. The master copy cannot be copied. So just keep that in mind. That's the one that I'm working with. But we'll get to it here in a second. I'm going to go through every single position group. And we have to remember that on the right side of the delineating line in the middle, on the red side, those are the guys that I currently don't have predicted to make the team. And on the left side, on the gold side, I have the guys that are predicted to make the 49ers roster. We are, again, 4 practices down. There are still many to go. Right now we're entering this 2-week stretch that's going to be very, very critical in determining a lot of position battles before the 49ers play the Kansas City Chiefs. That's at Levi Stadium. It's week 1 of the preseason. And especially this week, I mean, these are the dog days, right? It's August 1st right now. So you say the dog days of August. That cannot be more true. Once the pads come on in August in training camp, summer is behind us, and it's time to play football. As soon as we bridge the gap past the dog days, we start to transition into preseason mode, where we can actually look forward to games and see how players will look in those actual circumstances. And then obviously there are only 3 preseason games this year. So beyond that, we start to transition into regular season mode for the September 12th season opener at Detroit for the 49ers. So we're going to go position by position. I'm going to make this a little bit bigger just to start things, and then we'll, I think, go back to the camera a little bit. But, everybody wants to start with quarterback, so that's what I'm going to do. At quarterback, I mean, this is the way that we entered camp 5 days ago. This is the way that it still continues. Jimmy Garoppolo is your starter. Trey Lance is depth 1. Now, I'm not sure about Nate Sudfeld and Josh Rosen, depth 2 and practice squad. I entered thinking that Josh Rosen was the 49ers' preferred quarterback to win that QB3 spot, because they gave Nate Sudfeld guaranteed money that was commensurate to practice squad compensation. His guarantee was exactly the size of the veteran practice squad minimum. But Nate Sudfeld is actually, through only 12 attempts in shorts, has been the most accurate 49ers quarterback so far. He's actually looked a lot more comfortable than Josh Rosen. Now, again, this is what I'm going to emphasize over and over and over again. This has been in shorts. This has been during offensive installation. The 49ers won't even be done installing their offense until about midweek of this week. So this is all way too premature, but I think it's way up for grabs between Sudfeld and Rosen. And I do believe right here, as I zoom in a little bit further, with the monitor being above me, I do believe that the 49ers will only take 3 quarterbacks. I don't think there's room on this roster to take 4. So Sudfeld or Rosen, we'll see who gets that spot. On to Lance and Garoppolo, because that's what everybody wants to talk about. Day one, they were both 5 of 7. I thought they both made, day one, just a rewind, I thought was a dream day for the 49ers as far as getting camp kicked off, because we have to contextualize it with what we saw at OTAs. At OTAs, Jimmy Garoppolo, in the practices that were open to the media, didn't throw a single incompletion. He was in command. He looked very comfortable. He looked exactly like the veteran the 49ers would want him to look like at OTAs. Whereas Trey Lance during OTAs was obviously still a rookie. Yet he was a little hesitant. He wasn't sure to go where to go with the football, and he looked like a guy who had just shown up at the NFL level and hadn't played a game since 2019, which was almost completely true. He had only played 1 game in 2020 at North Dakota State, which was FCS level football. So fast forward to day one this past week, that was Wednesday, out on the practice field, and both Jimmy Garoppolo and Trey Lance were making plays. They both went 5 for 7, but both of them were comfortable off schedule. Both of them took chances downfield. Both of them were accurate when it mattered. I thought the highlight, there were 2 highlights. For Trey Lance, it was, I thought, a very well-placed jump ball to George Kittle downfield, maybe 30, 35 yards downfield, and he let Kittle go up and get the football, and Kittle's an all-pro. He's going to make those types of plays if you have the arm to get it where it needs to be near the sideline. So that was a wow play. I thought great efforts on both sides of that play from Trey Lance and from George Kittle. Jimmy Garoppolo surprised a lot of people who were used to seeing him play on a bum ankle in 2020 with his play, where the pocket broke down right away and he rolled out to the naked side. So it's a naked bootleg. He rolled out to the side where he wasn't quite in position to make an easy throw. So if you're a right-hander, and you're rolling to that side where you're not really facing to make a throw, you have to be athletic and you have to be able to contort the body and then flick the ball downfield. And as that pocket broke down and Jimmy Garoppolo went out of the pocket to the naked side, Brandon Ayuk was able to spring open, and he wasn't that open. I mean, there was still tight coverage on him, but he was able to find the open pocket of the field, sprinting away from Garoppolo toward the pylon, and Garoppolo was able to spin the ball over the defender right into Ayuk's hands. He made a great catch. Again, great effort on both sides, but it was one of those off-schedule improvisational plays where Jimmy Garoppolo later said, well, Brandon Ayuk, I just have a feel for his body language, where he's going to go. I didn't even have to point to show him where to go when the play broke down, and I found him. And it was like a wow start for the 49ers on that first day because, A, Jimmy Garoppolo was obviously fully healthy making an off-schedule play, and B, Trey Lance looked comfortable just gunning it downfield, and he looked like he belonged in an NFL practice, whereas during OTAs, Trey Lance was still very much getting his feet wet. So whatever Trey Lance did in the 40 days between OTAs and the start of training camp, and we saw a lot of those videos that he was working hard, whatever he did really translated into a lot better confidence. So the 49ers had to be thrilled after day one because both of their quarterbacks looked the part. Garoppolo healthy, Lance ready for the NFL, at least ready to start an NFL training camp and start to get better, because this by no means is going to be an overnight project with Trey Lance. Then we hit day 2, and both quarterbacks took a step back. Lance almost threw a couple picks. I have to emphasize that even while Lance was making mistakes on day 2, he was, I'm standing on the sideline here, and I talk about the naked rollout and the athleticism necessary to make a good throw when you're not, running toward your throwing side. There was a play where Lance was coming straight toward me. I'm standing on the sideline, and he's running out of space. He doesn't know where to throw because everybody's covered. And he was able to contort his body the same way I talked about Garoppolo a couple minutes ago. And just from that, angle where the momentum is not working in his favor for a throw, Lance just fired a seed. Power arm on display without a base on the play, right? There was no base on the play. He's rolling out to the foreign side there, and he threw a seed in Josh Peterson's direction. Now, that was the good. I saw, the awesome athleticism, power arm that the 49ers traded so much capital to draft for. But I also saw Trey Lance almost throw an interception on the play. because Azeez Al-Shaair was ready to break that one up to Josh Peterson on the sideline. It's a throw that Lance shouldn't have tried to make. Do the 49ers care about that on day 2? Of course they don't. It's not a strike against Trey Lance. It's exactly where we expected Trey Lance to be at this point in day 2 of the offseason. So I think the 49ers had to be doing a happy dance after the first 2 days, even though Lance almost threw 2 picks on that second day and went, like 6-10 or something like that. Because what the 49ers needed to see during these first 4 days is that athleticism show up. The athleticism they saw at North Dakota State, all those plus characteristics they saw on film for Trey Lance, they needed to see it, like the sun peek through the foggy clouds. They needed to see it peek through during these first 4 days. And I'll tell you what, on days 3 and 4, and especially on day 4, it really showed up for Trey Lance. Day 4, that was yesterday. That was Saturday. That's when Trey Lance took off 5 times. 2 of the runs were designed. They're read option QB keepers. And 3 of them, the 49ers got way too aggressive in man coverage on defense. And Trey Lance just exposed them, tucked it, and ran. Now, we haven't had a chance to talk to Kyle Shanahan since that day 4. And I really want to know how much Kyle Shanahan encouraged Trey Lance to run and how much, that was just, improv off script. Because if this is anything like Mike Shanahan working with Steve Young back in 1992, 1993, 1994, and if you want to go before that, if it's anything like Mike Holmgren working with Steve Young in that 91 season, back when Young was first-time starter and was still trying to rein in the legs and learn how to play in the pocket, running was only supposed to be a very last resort. And I think that Kyle takes a lot from Mike as far as that goes. Running can only be a very last resort, even if you're the most talented scrambler in the league, as Steve Young was back then, and Trey Lance might be moving up. I mean, he's going to be in the upper echelon at the very least with some of the athleticism that we've seen. So even if you have that skill set with your legs, you have to learn how to dissect from the pocket. So I can't wait to talk to Kyle Shanahan about Trey Lance's running effort because it was so effective. It obviously stressed the 49ers defense in new ways. And it's going to be great, if he's running scout team, for example, if Trey Lance is out there giving the 49ers defense looks this year, it's going to be great for them to prepare for Kyler Murray, maybe even Russell Wilson moving forward into this season. But even if you could do that, for Shanahan, it's so important to be able to deliver from structure. And I'm not saying that Trey Lance didn't. I think Trey Lance delivered several good throws from structure. But I want to know exactly how the running is going to integrate with all that. And that's why it's too early to make judgments here in training camp, because you don't know exactly what Kyle wants to see. You don't know how that factors in with the running. I do know that Kyle called 2 designed runs for Trey Lance, and they were read options. And in totality, those 5 runs, I've covered the 49ers ever since Kyle took over in 2017. I've never seen a quarterback run that much in practice. So it's obvious what the 49ers like out of Trey Lance. It's obvious what they're going to try to implement over the long term with him. He brings that new dimension. It's what, we talked about and the 49ers were about to draft pick. Kyle Shanahan didn't want a Mac Jones. Kyle Shanahan wanted what his dad had with Steve Young and with John Elway. And what did he have? He had a quarterback who had the accuracy of a Drew Brees and the legs of a Lamar Jackson. With Steve Young, the 49ers certainly had the best of both worlds, and Mike Shanahan was the offensive coordinator there. So I can see what they really want, and I think anybody with eyes can see what they really want in the future with Trey Lance. Now the question is going to be, how long is it going to take to really integrate this to where Trey Lance gives the 49ers the best chance to win? And these are questions that we're, not going to be able to answer after 4 days of practice in shorts, and B, we're not going to be able to answer these questions just as observers from the sideline. There's a lot of people pretending like they know exactly what's going on in the quarterback discussion right now. And the truth of the matter is that they don't. The people who know what's going on, have the all-22 film, are sitting in an office and watching replays of every single rep over and over again right now. And I guarantee you that's exactly what Kyle Shanahan's doing right now. Maybe he's watching this YouTube live. If he is, I would love if he would comment. Maybe we could get him on. on YouTube Live to talk about the two quarterbacks, but I guarantee you Kyle's not watching right now. He's grinding film and he's getting ready for when pads come on, when the entire dynamic changes for everybody, right? When the offensive linemen can actually protect themselves, when quarterbacks are, more forced to step up in the pocket, more forced to sense what's going on around them in all situations, because the bullets are flying, because it's not just unpadded guys pushing up against each other on the line. The timing changes, the dynamic changes, and guess what? More of the playbook is going to be installed here over the next few days. So once the full playbook is installed, we'll see what's really coming for the 49ers and their quarterbacks. As of right now, as we go back here to the roster, and I'll zoom in again, I'm zooming in on the wrong page. As of right now, we're looking at Garoppolo 1, Lance 2, and this is how the reps have been moving for both guys. Garoppolo's been taking all the reps with the first team. Lance has been taking all the reps with the second team. A lot of people have asked me, is there a chance that changes? And I absolutely think that there's a chance that Lance gets some first team reps. But as Shanahan said, the lion's share of that action at the very least, maybe if not all of it, is going to come with Jimmy Garoppolo. The reason that you would give Lance more first team reps right now is so he has a chance also to work with the first team 49ers offensive line. I think that's something that's really a variable that people don't really talk about all too much. The receivers and the tight ends and all those guys, they rotate through, right? Those guys you'll see George Kittle play with Trey Lance. That's why Trey Lance was able to throw that jump ball to him down the sideline. You'll see Brandon Ayuk and Trey Lance have opportunities to make connections on the field. But you won't see Trey Lance, if he's only playing for the second team, get to take snaps from Alex Mack. You won't get to see him work against the first team 49ers defense. So the variable that doesn't change, or the two variables that don't change, are the offensive line and the defense that Jimmy Garoppolo and Trey Lance have been working with, which is what in a lot of ways makes this an apples and oranges comparison. It's one of those things right now where you have to realize that Kyle Shanahan is in a spot where he has different goals for Trey Lance and Jimmy Garoppolo. Okay, so he's in a situation right now where Trey Lance is new to the NFL. He's breaking into the National Football League, and he's in a spot where everything is a first-time mistake. Everything is a first-time success, whatever you want to call it. Jimmy Garoppolo, meanwhile, is a veteran who is polishing, intricacies that he's already done wrong. So they're installing the same offense, but Jimmy Garoppolo's already installed, 80 or 90% of the offense. I don't know how much it's going to change from year to year, while it's all new for Trey Lance. So they're in two different worlds on two separate tracks. And the quicker that Trey Lance masters the current track, the quicker he could get on Jimmy Garoppolo's track. And that's going to be interesting to me to see how quickly those two tracks can merge, because Kyle Shanahan made it clear that the two tracks are separate, and we're comparing apples and oranges right now. So I hope that helps. I realize I went a little bit long here. I'll just keep this to the quarterbacks, and I'm going to change the name. And after we finish with the quarterbacks, we're going to go to running backs, and we're going to get to the other videos. So I'll keep all this stuff kind of condensed into separate videos. But for now, you guys can debate as you want, and we'll talk about the rest of the position groups right after this. All right, everybody take care and enjoy the rest of camp starting this next week.